Let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about the Air Force Form 910, which is the form for Airman Basic through Tech Sergeant. I wasn't able to pull up the version 4 from EPUBs and show it on the screen. For some reason it was showing as I couldn't enable the features. So I am showing this on a version 3, but please use the version 4 in the future for actually completing the evaluations. So here's the Air Force Form 910. Each main section is the Roman numeral section. So we have section 1, section 2, and then within each section there are different blocks. So section 1, block 1 would be the name. Section 1, block 2 would be the social. So if I'm ever referring to a section, that will be anything with Roman numerals, and anything with a block, it will be an actual number. In section 1, we have the ratee's information. So it should be their name, their last, first, and middle initial in block 1. In block 2, it should be the member's full social. So please don't have the member's last 4, or I've also seen someone just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please just have the full social in section 1, block 2. In section 1, block 3, we have the rank that the member holds as of the closeout date. So if this member is a Tech Sergeant, as of 30 November 18, this should reflect Tech Sergeant. It should not be their rank that they hold now. It should not be the rank that they hold in the future. It should be the rank that they hold as of the closeout date. So the rank and closeout date should match the static closeout dates for that member's rank, unless it's a directed by half report, which I will go a little bit into pretty soon here. Block 4 should be the member's duty AFSC. So this AFSC should match the position that the member holds in the unit. So like if they're on the UMD or the UMPR, this should match their position's duty AFSC. Block 5 should be the member's organization, command, and location. So for example, if it's I see the 122 fighter wing in here, 122 fighter wing, the command, I'm not sure which command that's under, and then their location. You can have non-EAD or AGR in parentheses after the location. It is optional, however, it does help us when we're actually processing the report to match up the reason with the period with the rank. So it is optional. You do not have to have non-EAD or AGR in Block 5, but it does help us at our level to process the report. The passcode should be the unit's passcode. This passcode should match the organization in Block 5. FDID, as of now, it should be NA because the Guard and Reserves do not forced distribute like RegAF does. We are currently talking with Reserve Policy and NGB about in the future having the actual members FDID in here, but for now, it should be NA. Block 8, the period of report. So for the period of report, this should start the day after the member's last closeout date if they have previous evaluations. If they are a senior airman receiving their initial evaluation, this should start on their member's dais. Date initially entered, uniform service. If they are a prior service member joining the Air Force from either the Army or Navy or some other branch of service, this will start on the day they entered the Air Force. And so it will match their DD4 date. Most of the time, it should just fall the day after the member's last report closed out, or for the senior airman initial reports, their dais date. The closeout date, 90% of the time, should be the static closeout date for that member's rank. So all staff sergeants, all non-EAD staff sergeants will end 31 January of odd years. All Tech Sergeant non-EAD members will end 30 November of even years, and AGRs will end every year for their rank static closeout date. If the member promotes and their new ranks next SCOD after they promote, so for example, this member is a Tech Sergeant, they promote to Master on 1 December of 19, so their new rank, Master Sergeant SCOD, would be 30 September 2021. If their new rank's next SCOD makes the report longer than 24 months, a directed by half report is required. And a directed by half report will close out as the member's previous rank the day before they promote or demote. Their next report will start the day that they promoted and will end on their new rank's next SCOD. So those are the only times a directed by half report should be used is for promotion or demotion. Block 9 is the number of days non-rated. Most of the time this will be 0. There are certain circumstances in which non-rated days will be used. One of those circumstances will be medical, confinement, a personal hardship. Those reasons are in the AFI for non-rated days, but most of the times those aren't used. If we use non-rated days, please, when you're sending us the report in the coordination remarks, not on the report, but in the coordination in VPC, please mention why the member is receiving non-rated days. This is so we know that it is an actual reason under the AFI, not just because the member was in tech school or the member was in student flight. Those should still be counting as rated days. Number of days supervision, this should be the amount of days that the rater who's signing the report supervised the member. And then reason for report. So we have a few different reasons for report. Annual will be used on an AGR member ending on a SCOD. So if the member becomes an AGR during the report period and they end on their next AGR SCOD, the report might be longer than 1 year, but the reason for report will still be annual. We have to keep the reason for report and the actual period of report separate from each other. So an annual will always be used if it's an AGR member ending on a SCOD. We will use directed by commander if the commander wants to create a report early, only to document derogatory information. If it is a directed by commander report, there should not be any positive bullets on the report itself. It should only be the derogatory information. Biennial will be a non-EAD member ending on a SCOD. So it might only be a year long because they promoted and they did not need a directed by half. Certain circumstances like that. If they are non-EAD and they are ending on a SCOD, the reason for report should be biennial. Directed by half, like I mentioned earlier, this will be used if a member promotes or demotes and their new ranks next SCOD will create a report that would be longer than 24 months for non-EAD or 12 months for an AGR member. CRO we do not use anymore, so change of rating officials. Enlisted do not receive CRO reports anymore. I wish they would just take this off of the options for enlisted, but it's still here. And then initial, this will be used for a senior airman ending on the first SCOD after they promote to senior airman. So the report for an initial report, the period is going to be from the member's DIAS date through the next SCOD after they promote. These reports can be longer than 24 months. I've seen reports up to 5 years for these, just because of the way the dates worked out when they promoted and when the next SCOD would be. So just keep that in mind. The initial reports can be longer than 24 months. Directed by NGB, we also do not use. I have not seen any that NGB actually directs to be completed. So unless NGB reaches out to your unit and says, we direct an EPR, please do not use directed by NGB. Section 2, the job description. So this is where you will mention the member's key duties, their tasks, and responsibilities. These shouldn't be actual work bullets. These should just be the duties, tasks, and responsibilities that the member has for their position. Their duty title should be spelled out. Please note that there shouldn't be any uncommon acronyms or abbreviations. A common one would be NCOIC. So if it's NCOIC, that's okay, but anything that the average Air Force member may not know should be spelled out. In the actual bullet section in Block 2, this should be a minimum of 1 bullet. It should be their primary duties or additional duties that they have, any tasks and responsibilities that the member holds. And then this line right here, this note applies to the whole form. Bullets are limited to a maximum of 2 lines, and white space is authorized. So this note right here applies to the whole form itself, not just in the job description section. And then any of these notes in any of the rest of the report applies to the entire report, not just the section that the actual rule is written in. So all of these apply to the whole report itself. Section 3, this is going to be the member's performance in their primary duties. They should have a rating in Section 3. The only time not rated is used if it's a fully non-rated report. So the whole 730 days in this example is non-rated, and it does have to be one of those approved non-rated reasons. They can receive any of these ratings. That is up to the rater to decide what rating to give the member. And then, like I said, all of these rules apply to the whole form, not just this specific section. Each section must have a minimum of 1 bullet. And if there are no comments, they should use this section not used. So this section not used counts as a bullet if that's what you want to put in this section. There should not be any PME statements. So you cannot mention or recommend ALS, NCOA, or senior NCOA unless the member won an award. So if the member won an award, such as the John Levittow Academic Achievement, the Commandant Award, any of those awards can be mentioned along with member completed ALS or NCOA. But that's the only time you can mention or recommend any of these 3 PME schools. Like I had up here, bullets are limited to a maximum of 2 lines. So if the bullet goes onto a second line, it can either have a double dash, like this bullet does, or hopefully you guys can see it moving in real time. You can just remove the double dash and just have it start from the beginning, just like this. So it can be a maximum of 2 lines. It cannot go down onto a 3rd line. Nowhere on the form can there be personal fitness statements. So you cannot mention a score or category that the member received. If they are a PTL or a UFPM or they work at the FAC, you can mention, the unit's fitness, the wing's fitness stats. You can say, the unit averages this amount, as long as it's not a personal fitness statement. So you cannot mention the member received a 95 or an excellent. You cannot have any stratification comments on the 910. So a stratification comment is comparing that member to their peers. So in this example, 1 out of 9 tech sergeants in the unit would be considered a stratification that they cannot have, or the best tech sergeant I've seen. That's another stratification because they are comparing that member to other tech sergeants that the rater has rated on. And there can also not be any promotion statements or recommendations. So you cannot say, just a promote or promote when ready or promote now. The reason for this is because there's an actual block in Section 9 for a promotion statement. So there should not be any bullets with promotion statements in them. Moving down to Section 4, this is where the followership and leadership bullets will go. Again, the member will have to receive a rating in this section. Not rated will not be used unless it's a fully non-rated report. this applies to the rest of the form as well. They cannot have civilian or GS employment comments unless they directly relate to the member's military position. So if the member is a GS civilian during the week and does drill on the weekends, unless they directly relate their GS employment to their military employment, they cannot have comments. So for example, if the member is a personnelist in a GS position, but during drill or AT, they work security forces, because they don't relate to each other, they cannot mention the member's GS position on the report. Also, they cannot have any personal medical comments anywhere. So this is in regards to the non-rated days. So if a member is non-rated for medical, they cannot put anywhere on the report that the member is not rated due to medical, as it violates HIPAA. And also, that should just be mentioned in the coordination to us. And it doesn't have to be specific. In the coordination, you can just say member not rated due to medical, and that's acceptable. We don't have to know anything more about the member. But on the actual report, there should not be any medical comments. Section 5 is the whole airman concept. Again, should have a rating in here. There can be senior enlisted joint PME 1 and 2 mentioned if the member completed the course. They can't have member enrolled or member halfway done. The member has to complete senior enlisted joint PME to mention it on the EPR. And also, the EPR can have any career field related schools, training, CDCs, or leadership development schools and or seminars, and any CCAF requirements that they have. Also, they can have like university credits or college credits on there as well. As long as it is not a PME, they can mention it. So one of the seminars I know, there's NCOPS, so NCO Professional Enhancement Seminar, that can be mentioned because it is a development school or a seminar. Section 6, this is the overall rating for the member. So this is the actual rating that we input here at ARPC into MilPDS. I've seen it where it's an average of these ratings up here. I've seen it where the rater has a different rating. So it's up to the rater to decide the overall performance assessment for the member. So they can pick any of these blocks. Met some but not all expectations does not automatically make the report a referral anymore. So the only time report is a referral is if there's a derogatory comment added, not just the rating of met some but not all expectations. Just keep that in mind. The member can receive met some but not all and not receive a referral as long as there's no derogatory comments on the report. The second that a derogatory comment is added is when the report becomes a referral report. The rater information, so this should be the actual supervisor of the member. This will be their name, rank. It should be at least the same or higher than the ratee. For senior airmen who have completed ALS, they can rate on other senior airmen. But other than that, it should be the same rank or higher than the ratee. The branch of service should be in here. For guard members, you can use state ANG. So for example, instead of putting USAF in here, you can put, Florida Air National Guard. We do recommend USAF, but if your guard unit uses guard for the signature block, that is okay as well. The organization, command, and location is that of the rater. So this does not necessarily have to match the ratee. It can be wherever the rater is assigned to that rates the ratee. Duty title, this is the duty title of the rater. The last four of the rater. If the rater is a civilian employee, they do not have to put their last four of their social. They can either put 0000 or leave it blank if they do not want to put the last four of their social. And then sign and date. The additional rater in Section 8 will then either concur or non-concur. If they non-concur, they have to state why they do not concur with this rating. And let me just show you. They also have to choose the rating that they do not concur in. So there will be a drop-down. there will be a drop down, like looks like this, and they'll be able to change whichever section they do not agree. If they do agree for one of the sections, so we'll say the overall rating, they believe the member received an exceed most, but they believe the member met in these other two, they would only put the section that they disagree, and then they would add a comment why they disagree with the rating that the rater provided. We recommend that if any rating official does not agree, they coordinate, the additional rater and the rater get together and try to decide at their level what's best for the member. But if they cannot come to a consensus, the additional rater always has the option to non-concur with the rater. In the additional rater section, comments are optional, so they don't have to have any bullets, but they do have to have at least this section not used. So if you're not going to provide any bullets, please use this section not used in the additional rater section. If the report is a referral, then there is a mandatory comment that the additional rater has to add in their comment section, and those can be found in the AFI. And those are related to if the member provides a rebuttal or not. There's two different comments for that. The additional rater will then add their name, their rank. So the additional rater for a 910 has to at least be a senior NCO or higher. We cannot have tech sergeants as the additional raters. That's been a little common recently. I've been noticing that the additional raters are techs, but they do have to be at least a senior NCO or higher. Again, their branch of service, organization, command, and location. They will put their duty title, their last four, and they will sign and date. They have to at least wait until the day or the day after the rater signs. So it has to be in sequential order for the dates that the evaluators sign the report. Section 9, this is where the unit commander, a military or civilian director, or an other authorized reviewer will sign. So they also have the option to concur or non-concur. Please make sure that one of these are checked. Again, if they do not concur, they would be non-concurring with the additional rater. If the additional rater concurs, this non-concurrence is with the overall rating. But if the additional rater non-concurs and adds different ratings, this concurrence for the commander section in section 9 is based off of the previous evaluator. So just keep that in mind if you ever have that come up. Again, comments are optional, but if they are not provided, they have to put this section not used. I know previously on the previous AFI, it said to use this line intentionally left blank. They changed it back again to this section not used. So please use this section not used for the report. Block 2 is the future roles. So these do not have to be filled out. They can be left completely blank. But if they want to recommend the member for a future role, it must be a role or assignment that best serves the Air Force and continues the airman's development. There are no, so the AFI does not specify what exactly can go in the future role section other than a role or assignment. So you can put just one in here, you can put 2 or 3, as long as it's a role or assignment, it is acceptable in the future roles section. Block 3, this is the promotion eligible block. So it should either be yes or no, and this is based off of time and grade, time and service eligibility. That's the only considerations for block 3. So if the member is time and grade, time and service, promotion eligible as of the closeout date, they should be yes, and if they are not, then it should be no. If the member is promotion eligible, and there's a yes here, then there has to be a promotion recommendation checked. And this is up to whoever is signing section 9. They will choose the promotion recommendation that they feel the member should receive. Do not promote can only be used on a referral report, but you can choose not ready now or above if it's not a referral report. And that's just based on the commander's discretion for the member. If it is a referral report, you would mark yes here. If it is not a referral report, it would be no. Just make sure if you do mark that it is a referral report, there is a derogatory comment somewhere on the report, and all referral procedures are accomplished. Quality force review. This should be yes every single time because this ensures that the member's records have been reviewed for all quality force indicators during the reporting period. I know most units have the first sergeant doing the quality force review. Sometimes it's a superintendent, but they should be reviewing every single member's records prior to completing the report. So this is why it should be yes every single time. If the member is not promotion eligible, they should not be filling out a promotion recommendation. So this should be left blank if the member is not promotion eligible. So yes, they have to receive a recommendation. No, they cannot receive a recommendation. The commander, director, or other authorized reviewer will add their information in the signature block. Just like the other ones, they will add their last four of their social, their duty title, and sign and date. So a director could be, director of personnel or director of operations. Commander is going to be that member's commander. And an other authorized reviewer, this will only be used if the commander deems another authority is able to sign the report instead of them. If the commander does choose an other authorized reviewer, there must be an MFR attached in the VPC EVR with a date, so a date range that the member can sign for the commander, and who the member is that can sign. So the MFR should say, it should be from the commander saying Captain Johnson can sign all tech sergeant and below reports from that close out 30 November 18 or something along those lines. And that MFR must be attached to the VPC EVR in the additional attachments section. They will sign and date. And then section 10, this should rarely, if ever, be used. And this is where a functional examiner or Air Force advisor will complete and sign. A functional examiner would be if a member's part of a unit, but their AFSC is kind of unknown to the commander. So like the commander isn't quite sure. And this would go back to someone in that member's AFSC to, review the report, make sure it falls under that job's guidelines, and sign and date. An Air Force advisor will be used if the commander is not in the Air Force. So if the member is part of a joint unit and they have a Navy or Army commander, an Air Force advisor will have to review the form and sign just to make sure that it falls under the Air Force guidelines. So for the 910, all tech sergeants and below, the advisor or examiner will be a master sergeant or above. And like I said, this section should only be filled out if one of these two situations is necessary. And they will also check which one they are signing as. In the remarks section, so this is where any acronyms that are used would be spelled out. So for example, we'll just put ARC. So this is where the remarks, it would spell out any uncommon acronyms that are on the report. And they should be in alphabetical order. Sometimes the reports don't have the remarks filled out. It's mostly for future personnel who are looking at this report, or, if they're on a board, just to try to understand the report more. That's on the rater to spell out any acronyms that they have. And then the Ratee's acknowledgement section. The Ratee should be signing, and they should be the last one to sign the report. If they are not available or the member refused to sign, a previous evaluator who has signed the report must sign for the member if they are choosing one of these drop-downs. You can't just have one of these drop-downs picked and the signature block blank. It does have to be signed for one of the evaluators who have previously signed the report. So it can be the commander who signs, the additional rater, or the rater. Then they would also have to pick one of these drop-downs. If they're signing as the member not available to sign, the member must be given at least 30 days for non-EAD or 3 duty days for an AGR to sign the report. So they must wait that 3 or 30 days before signing for the member as not available. This just gives time for if the member doesn't have drill coming up for another 21 days, it gives them the opportunity to sign once they are on duty. So that is the 910. Like I said, all of these rules that are in the bullets apply to the whole report. That should be it for me going over the 910.